to infinity and beyond.
What's up, everybody? It's Roger and James here from DisKingdom.com with your weekly video game podcast. On this week's show, we're going to be discussing a number of different items, including the brand new Cars 3 Driven to Win game. We'll be talking about Marvel Heroes Omega coming to consoles, Nick Fury arriving on Marvel Heroes, a little bit of Kingdom Hearts Union, and finally what we've been playing this week. So, big week. So obviously we'll go through it all. So you had a good week, James?
It's been a pretty good week. Lots of playtime this week. Work didn't get too much in the way, and can't complain too much.
No, it's kind of two big games that we've known have been coming, but we kind of got our first look at both games for Marvel Heroes Omega and Cars 3. So let's jump straight into Cars 3 first off. Let's get this one straight out of the way. This is basically the first video game to be created from the ashes or the carcass of Disney Infinity, and we kind of got to see the trailer. What was your initial thought of that trailer?
I think the main thing was we're not actually seeing much of a graphical or performance increase from Disney Infinity. It looks very much like it would have been just fine in the Speedway, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. I think it'll actually be fine, and obviously they're kind of scrambling to put something together. But that aside, it looks pretty good. It looks like it'll be a good bit of fun. It's not going to be Mario Kart, but for fans of cars, and there are many, and for parents who want a video game for their young child to play, it looks like it'll be right up their alley.
Yeah, my first initial reaction was, if you take away like some of the actual the computer generated graphics from the point of view of just the movie section thing, that all looks lovely and clean. The actual gameplay itself, I'll be honest, it looked a little bit dated, and that probably is because, like you say, it's based on the Disney Infinity engine, which I don't think is that thing of like 4 or 5 years on. It doesn't look as good as it used to, but that thing of it just literally just looks like Toy Box Speedway, but they've really ramped it up. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it, because I love Toy Box Speedway from Disney Infinity, and the actual Cars playset was one of my favourite playsets that I used to constantly keep going back to because it was a lot of fun. So if they've got all of that in there, I think it's good. I think we've got like 20 playable characters, which is the thing that with Infinity you had the issue with the playable characters. I'm thinking this could be a lot of fun. Like you said, Mario Kart, actually, I hadn't really given a lot of thought, but yeah, it's kind of in that same mode of Mario Kart, which I'm going to get in a couple of weeks, is going to probably be a much tighter, better gaming experience. But I think, as you said, for families and people just wanting some Lightning McQueen action, this is going to be a good little game to play for the summer.
Yeah, and I think it will hopefully take advantage of the fact that it's not on the Infinity engine or under the Infinity platform, so all the cars will have different stats, and some will be faster than others, some will be more durable than others, some will turn better, etc. Because that was my big complaint with Speedway. I understood why they did it, but when Sully was driving the exact same way as Mike Wazowski or the Jedi or whatever, it's like, well, the character choice is purely cosmetic, and that's obviously what they wanted. But I do like a little bit of depth with the racing where my choice isn't going to be just cosmetic.
Yeah, I remember even on Mario Kart back on the Super Nintendo, browser was slower but better and cool. They had to even way back all that time. There was some little adjustments. But Cars 3, it's going to be out in June. We're June 13th in the US, June 18th in the UK. I'm going to be out on PlayStation 4, PlayStation 3, Xbox One, Xbox 360, Nintendo Switch, and Nintendo Wii U. So they've definitely gone across complete generations, which probably explains why the graphics are a little bit lower because of the 360 and the PS3. They're going for full blast to get as many kids playable with this game as possible. I think now with the Nintendo Switch being in there, it always opens up that thing of that's always going to be the lower tier of the free consoles now. But it's good that it's on there. But the fact that they went straight onto the old very much says they want to get the kids that have still got the old consoles. They're going for mass populace. It still looks pretty good. I'm just going to check actually because I think For some reason, I believe in the UK, only Argos have got the Nintendo Switch version for some bizarre
Oh.
reason. I don't know why whether that was the way.
They
the
might
way
be. They might be limiting production because they weren't sure if the Switch was going to be a success or not. It's just a guess. But it is good for them to get the Switch version out fairly quickly because, yes, they're going to be competing directly with Mario Kart, but I can imagine that with the low number of Switch titles currently available, and, if a parent wants something to cool their kid down while they're, on a several-hour car ride, cars will be a good bet for them. So I think that they will do pretty well on the Switch.
Yeah, I'm really torn on PS4 versus Switch at this point for this. This is where I've always had this issue with PlayStation 4 is going to look a little bit better, and that's where all my games are. But the Switch is fastly becoming very, very big. So it depends on. I don't think there's going to be a lot of graphical difference between them. I think it's all going to be very, very similar. Just looking here at some of the details of the game. They said they wanted to create a game that allowed fans to extend their experience with the great film and also the thrill of speeding through the tracks, participating in racing, and mastering tricks and techniques for the whole family. Which I think is, again, this is just, that's what John Blackburn said, very much kind of carrying on with that on there. So there's 20 different characters. You've got the new characters like Cruz Ramirez. You've also got I think Jackson Storm, Lightning McQueen. The one thing that did look a little bit odd was it doesn't look like there's any online play. It looks like it's just purely local co-op.
Well, I mean, if they are taking the Disney Infinity code, that does make sense because the Infinity online aspect was never very good in the first place.
No, and this is the thing with these kind of games is at the end of the day, anything that involves servers and stuff with Disney, they're not very good at keeping things going. So, I mean, generally, if it's just one-on-one playing, you should be able to play it on the console. So I was a little bit surprised that it wasn't online, but at the same time, this whole game feels like it was maybe a little bit... I don't know if it's necessarily rushed, because they've had some time probably working on it for quite a while, but it probably would have been a little bit more polished had it not been for Disney, the whole way the company happened and how this game kind of came about.
Yeah, I mean, of course, they had the advantage of working with an engine that they're already familiar with and that already had the ability to make racing game modes. So didn't have to work straight from scratch, but it would have been nice if they'd had a chance to actually build it up from scratch, build it for the modern consoles and the Switch. And then, they still could have had a 360 and a PS3 version. I'm sure there are plenty of parents who just chuck their old system at their kids to shut them up for a while. So I'm sure that's what they're banking on. But, it's the first effort by Disney to get something out there since the loss of Infinity. So I don't think anyone was really expecting a triple A system seller game to come out of this arrangement.
Yeah, I'm expecting this to be, a lot of fun, just a blast having we've got all the spy stuff back with the rocket launchers and stuff on the side, which I think looks fine. I'm looking forward to it because it's almost that kind of feel of this feels like, this would have I know this would have been a playset. This was a playset for Disney Infinity that would have been coming out this year. And they've managed to tweak it and probably up it a little bit to turn it into a main game. And I'm okay with that. And I still can't help, and I was saying it for years, that a standalone game probably would sell better than they are. And there's going back to it. And I'm sure this is going to do very well. And it'll stick around and it will work for years.
Yeah, and as you mentioned earlier, the fact that they're not restricted by having to make figures for each of the cars that you want to play with does give them the options of including a lot more cars than we would have gotten in a playset, because we would only have the original cars plus whichever ones they decided to make for this. So probably, the villain car and then a couple others, maybe a remodel of Lightning. Maybe I think they had a 12-inch model for Lightning planned, but I'd much rather have the variety than worry about having some more car models on my shelf, which aren't ever going to get played with outside of this playset.
No. And there are going to be loads of different skills in the game and abilities, including drifting, turbo, two-wheel driving, backwards driving, and the side bash. So, we didn't have backwards driving. I mean, we could reverse, but driving backwards... I love the fact that reversing is now just a skill set. And it's obviously like, I know it's just there going, drifting, no, we had that. Turbo, we had that too. Two-wheel driving? I don't remember that. That's new. And the side bash obviously was a standard push, so that's pretty good. Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think it's gonna be a nice fun game, nice family game. I'm not setting my hopes up like this is gonna be a triple A, like you say, classic. This is gonna be a fun game to play for, for the summer. Kids are gonna love it, and I think it'll be, because there ain't gonna be, there won't be any cars games for a while. So this will be a good way for getting kids back into it.
Yeah, I mean, this will find its little niche. It's not going to be a game that's going to engage you or I for a very long amount of time, or possibly at all. But for what it needs to do, it's going to get it done. As long as they don't completely bomb this, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to playing it. I think it'll be a lot of, like I said, it's that thing of going back. This is what licensed games were all about, and this is going to go straight back to what it was, and I'm fine with that. I think this is, little experiences for a week or two for us older ones, but for kids, the kids are just gonna lap it up, literally.
Yep, round and around and around Radiator Springs, over and over and over with Lightning McQueen saying "Pachow" around every corner.
Ka-chow, ka-chow.
I mean,
hey friends, let's go. Hey friends, let's go. Hey friends, let's go. I got Disney Infinity. That I would just be like, stop talking, please stop talking.
There's the mute button. But that's the other thing. Hopefully they'll have a lot more sound clips than they had in Disney Infinity.
Hey friends, let's go. That's all we ever. I just remember it being that was all it ever was friends, and it was just like I said, it should be fun. I am thinking it's good. I'm just trying to see now if I can find the Switch version anywhere in the UK. Nothing's coming up on any of the Cars 2. No, I don't want that. Driven to Win. I know that's not the case in America, but like you said, it depends on where they're shipping them to. Well, there'll obviously be digital versions of these as well. But yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. It's a, like you say, it's the first video game really to come out since it, and also Avalanche are taking on some new members of staff. They're advertising for stuff. There's even maybe a little bit of rumors running around that there might even be a Harry Potter game that they're working on for the engine. Because Avalanche is now owned by Warner Brothers, just because they did do all Disney Infinity doesn't mean they have to stick to the characters from Disney Infinity. From Disney, they can go over to other. You start using the engine for other franchises,
or a completely different engine as well. I honestly wouldn't mind some Harry Potter kart racing or broomstick racing, as it might be. Not Quidditch. We've got plenty of Quidditch, and I'm sure there'll be another Quidditch game at some point, but you could definitely see a racing game on broomsticks.
I mean, I still think we're going to have a few years of just like using this engine and just churning out, 1 or 2 games a year for a few years. And I'm fine with that. This is, when you have these kind of tie-in license games, that's what these are for. These are for, generic kind of games. Yeah, I'd love to have kind of Kingdom Hearts kind of major titles, but that's not always what the case of what a lot of these like Disney character games are all about.
No, and I mean, why would you spend AAA assets on some of these movies that'll be coming out? There's no point. Like, you wouldn't make a AAA Finding Dory game because there's just not a market for it. And I'm sure that'll apply to, Coco and all the movies coming out this year and next year as well. Yeah. You don't need to spend that much. Kids aren't really going to be all that, they're not the ones spending the money, so they don't really care.
No. But hopefully we will start finding out a little bit more about this. I mean, it's not too far away. I mean, we're literally about 2 months away from the game being released, so I imagine we'll start seeing trailers rolling out soon for each character and getting to know a little bit more about this game. It pretty much is going to be released pretty much bang around E3, so I imagine it'll be on display at the event and shown off, but it'll pretty much be out in stores around that time. But no, I'm looking forward to it. I want to see more about it, and I just think it'll be fun. But I just realized, I'm going to have Mario Kart. It's going to be that thing of, it's going to be very, very close, but then it will just be fun just to jump in as Lightning McQueen.
Yeah, I mean, Mario Kart's great, but that doesn't mean you can't enjoy other style racers in the same vein. Plus, the movie will be out in June, and there'll always be that kind of aspect of, well, I saw the movie, now I'll get to enjoy playing with the characters that I saw in the movie.
Right, so let us know what you guys think of Cars 3 Driven to Win. You can always comment below and get in touch with us on those.